give you a headache for different reasons, but it's interesting. Like in restaurants, have you ever noticed how if you're really upset at a restaurant, you're complaining, you're like, my food is terrible, my dessert is terrible, everything's terrible. The manager would always come and give you a glass of Prosecco or a glass of champagne. And the reason why historically you would do that is because the bubbles the alcohol goes to your head quicker, but also it gives you this celebratory mood, right? The problem for me in that was that champagnes have a very, very high acidity. So it actually started to give me some heartburn. And then you have the sugar to offset it, and that combination kind of ruined it for me. And then Prosecco was just bitter and then sweet, and that ruined Prosecco for me. So that's why I feel that we answer a few of those shortcomings, really, in the category of sparkling wine in general. Because sparkling wines usually have about 30 grams of sugar per liter. So if you think about a bottle of champagne, imagine 30 sugar packages inside. That's planning, right? Ours has less than 3 per liter.
Wow.
Less than 3 sugar packages per liter. So that's why we can claim the zero, because there's less than 1 gram per glass. And these are just unfermentable sugars. This is just a matter of yeast ability to turn those sugars into alcohol. But these are completely uncomplicated carbohydrates. So we really not only I feel like we create a whole new product within the same category, because it's completely different than what the leading brand is today.
Very true. Now that you guys have this great idea, once you have the idea, it then has to go through the process of, okay, how are we going to market it? What bottles are going to be in? What label are we going to use? Your bottle that you guys are using is absolutely beautiful, and the label is so simple, but in a great way, because there's so many labels out there that generally really overcomplicate things, and they just are just trying to catch your attention coming off the shelf, which is not a bad thing, but at the end of the day, they end up rechanging it on a regular basis. But you guys have a beautiful label, and the bottle shape is fantastic. How many different, I guess, bottle shapes and labels, and how was that process like?
That's actually, I love that you're asking me these things. I really appreciate it, because these are things you kind of like are in a narrow mind, tunnel vision, where you just work, and you forget a lot of these cool experiences. The bottle shape came about. This is the best bottle to hold bubbles, actually. So, for instance, she said that, you know how you open a bottle of wine, and a sparkling wine, I would say, and you open it, and then, 2 days later it's flat. Our bottle shape, basically what it does is that it creates a tonal effect to the bubbles available in the wine, creating and prolonging the perlage. So it's a design that we felt was prudent to do in a sparkling wine. The Angel and the Zero branding, it's funny because my partner, Michael Valdez-Fauli, is actually also our chief marketing officer. And it was interesting because this is a guy that literally does marketing for a living. He does NFL, Heineken. He's a genius when it comes down to it. So when we were talking about Prosecco Zero, I'm telling them about the fact that we made probably the best tasting Prosecco. And at the end of my 3 hours rant about why I felt Prosecco Zero was so great, Michael just looks at me and he's like, dude, you just made a zero sugar wine. And it was interesting because on my chemist mind, or my sommelier mind, I was just thinking of, polyphenols and, just a round wine, just a balanced wine, a wine that actually made sense with food. It's a celebratory wine. So we basically bypass any flaws, or that we fix any flaws that the category would have. But Mikey only focused on, dude, you just made a zero sugar wine. So that's kind of what I came about. And it's like, we're Prosecco Zero, dude. We're a zero sugar wine. So obviously my goal was to produce the best tasting Prosecco. Wasn't necessarily to make a zero sugar Prosecco. That just came about as, hey, listen, this is what, at the end of the day, the end consumer cares about what they put in their body. And I think we all do, especially after COVID, was a big reset in our mentality. So we wanted for that to be our leading message. And then once you taste it, obviously you understand why we did it. But the leading message was to have a brand that actually said why we felt we were better or different at least. And so that's where the Zero branding came. And then the Angel came about because when I was studying in Italy how to make wine, I remember seeing a statue of an angel that we found in one of the caves where we were aging some red wines. And I remember saying, if I ever own a winery, I'm going to make sure this angel becomes my label. And that's how that came about, yeah.
Now, I am curious, as much as we're talking about the current product and how much you guys have put into it, I kind of want to go back also. What initially got you into wine to be a sommelier as well? Because that is not an easy process, and there are a lot of them in the world, but it's not as many as people would think. So how did you initially get into wine?
It's really, really interesting because I started when I was 18 years old, cleaning tables in the Dolphin Mall, actually, and it's a shopping mall here in Miami. So I was cleaning tables, and I remember meeting a sommelier, and I said, this guy is the smartest guy I've ever met because he knew how to speak languages. He knew everything, man. You can ask him about any food dish, anything. He would know about it. He knew about wines. He knew about geography, history. And I was like, I would love to be like that. So at that point, I didn't even know how to speak English very well. So it was a very tall order. And nonetheless, I requested or I applied for a job in the same restaurant he was working at. And basically, all I would do every single day was, hey, Carlos, can you ask me a question about wine? And he would ask me a question about wines. Obviously, I didn't know the answer, but I would write it down in this notepad. So I did that for like a few months, man. And the great thing about it was that I was so involved with it and I enjoyed it so much that I knew I wasn't going to know the first answer, but I was like, I going to make sure I never not know this answer. It's okay not to know, but it's not okay to not search for the answer. So my breaks, I would go to a library across the street of this restaurant called Books and Brews, and, I would read about wines. Anyways, long story short, he once told me, you know what? He will ask me a question, and now I knew the answer. And he started to not like that. So he will ask me tough questions too, man. I got to say, he was not playing nice. He will ask me, like, what are the grapes in cognac, and what are the grapes in port? Which, mind you, there are over 300 grapes for port. So it was not like nice, easygoing questions. So anyways, long story short, he basically made the decision to not teach me about wines anymore. He said, listen, I had to pay for my knowledge. You should do the same. So I quit that job, which I was doing terribly anyways because I spent the whole day just talking to the guy. And I decided to pursue my career as a sommelier, and I signed up for the Core Master Sommeliers. And then through my years, I made sure that I will always get one certification a year. So now I have 8 diplomas in wine, actually.
Sorry, I'm actually, there's a cop pulled up because I'm in a neighborhood at work, and apparently somebody called in thinking something nefarious was going on.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So let's get back into it while he's back at his car. Hilarious.
Well, don't get arrested over this interview. Or you know what? If you do get arrested, I promise you can call me. I could be your one phone call and I'll bail you out.
Hey, I would love that. That'd be.
That's my promise on this podcast today. If you get arrested because you did this interview, I will call I could be your one phone call and I'll bail you out.
I appreciate that very much, and it would be the best story ever.
Yes, I mean, secretly, I'm hoping you get arrested just so we can say we did it. Prosecco Zero bailed you out.
Yeah. Oh, he's coming back. Let me put you on mute real fast. Okay, no arrest. Sorry to let you down.
No. Oh.
Yeah, he was just saying that apparently, I guess it's older people because we're adding. So I'm in construction, so I'm in. We're building homes, and we're building onto a neighborhood that has, been here for years and years. And I imagine that it's older people living there. And he was like, yeah, he goes over there sometimes for like 30, 40 minutes. I was like, yeah, I'm doing interviews. Like, that's why I'm over there for a while.
Well, maybe next time.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe next time he'll get an arrest out of me.
The bill money, I promise I will not spend it. We'll keep it on our bank account as
Perfect.
I appreciate it.
I can't wait till you have to. I can't wait till you have to send that email to explain. Listen, we were doing an interview, and we're leaving this bail money here just for future sake.
Jonathan, I would happily talk to my accountants about that, and that would be fantastic.
I think I would love it. I mean,
I would do a whole Zoom video and say, this is the Jonathan fund. If it ever happens, we're outside.
Maybe at first we can save it for that, and then years later we'll turn that into a nonprofit or something, some kind of charity for you guys.
I would love that too.
Yeah. All right. Well, so you guys also have a rosé option. Tell us about the rosé, and then why did you guys think you guys needed to expand into the rosé market?
Yeah, so Prosecco Zero, they kind of came at the same time, the inception of both, because we were making an espumante back then when we launched Prosecco Zero, because the Rosé Prosecco designation, it's fairly new. It just started as of 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And basically by law, you need to harvest by October 1st, and you need to use up to 15% of Pinot Negro. But I wanted to make a zero sugar sparkling wine with the same methodology. We make Prosecco Zero, which is very high technological machines that we use. So we had the ability, and I love rosé wines. I studied in Côte de Provence. I make wine as well, so I've always had this affinity for rosé wine. And we used to my rosé out of Merlot. So we kind of launched both of them at the same time, but when the Prosecco designation for rosé wines came alive, I had to jump on it because we had a single vineyard Pinot Noir grapes that would just bottle it and make our own wines. These are the wines we drink ourselves. These are not wines that we sell usually, just the wines I make for me. And but we didn't do much with that other than just drink them. So I love Pinot Noir as a grape. I think it's fantastic. And then when the designation came out for Prosecco Rosé, it stipulated that you could use up to 15% Pinot Negro. So for me, honestly, it was a no-brainer. And when I taste the wine, it's kind of like a sparkling wine from Provence, but with bubbles. And I'm telling you, Jonathan, this is one of my favorite wines, period. I mean, it's funny because we go to dinners and we do a bunch of these events, and obviously, I usually drink Prosecco Zero, but people tell me, it's like, man, aren't you bored? Aren't you tired of drinking the same wine everywhere? Like, you go to a restaurant, you order that. You go to home, you drink that. And I honestly can say the Prosecco Rosé, I cannot get tired of it. It's perfectly uncomplicated, refreshing. Everything I love about wine is that wine generally.
That's awesome, because I know a lot of time the rosé market blew up, years ago, but it's so much of the new school of rosé where it is adding all that extra sugar, and it's adding it's not the old rosé, which is a little drier, but in a good way. And I'm glad that you guys are doing more of the old way as opposed to that new way, because the new way is just, with the whole Stella Rosa and everybody putting so much sugar, and, Drake rapped about Moscato one time and the market blew up like crazy, that not everyone, so many people leaned into that so hard that it was too much, and I don't think it really helps people that say they drink wine, because then you have people like, oh, I drink wine. Like, okay, what do you drink? Oh, I drink Stella Rosa. It's like, But do you drink wine though? Because no.
Yeah.
So the old rosés to me